Today's guest is Nir Eyal, New York Times bestselling author, former Stanford lecturer, and one of the world's leading experts on habit formation and human psychology.
Nir has spent years studying why our brain holds us back, and his new book, Beyond Belief, finally gives us the science to do something about it.
In today's episode, you'll uncover the limiting beliefs that are quietly destroying your potential,
The missing ingredient that makes manifesting actually work,
and how to rewire your brain to spot opportunities everyone else will miss.
If you are ready to find out what your brain is truly capable of, then today's episode is for you. Nir, your book, Beyond Belief, was one of the easiest books that I have ever read. And I mean that in the best way. You know, usually you pick up a book and you're expecting to flip through the chapters. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I know this. Okay, I know this. I know this. Like, that's kind of what self-help books have become for me. But I was so pleasantly surprised when I picked up this book because I feel like every page, every chapter, every section was this crazy study or this crazy story that I had never heard before. And then I get to the very end and it all makes sense to me because I realize in the acknowledgments that this book took you 5 years to write.
Yeah.
So we want to start by first saying thank you for taking...
And by just acknowledging that you are a master storyteller.
Yeah.
And the way you bring these studies to life really gets us on the edge of our seats. So thank you for that skill that you have that you've shared with us. It's
that is
it made these concepts really stick.
I appreciate it. This is catnip for authors. You don't understand how meaningful this is because you sit in your cave and you write and you research, and to hear from you guys that you enjoyed it, that it was entertaining, and also you took something away from it. Man, nothing better. You guys made my day. Thank you.
We're happy to hear that. I also want to ask you, what made you dedicate 5 whole years of your life to this topic of beliefs?
Yeah. So this is my 3rd book, and I don't write books because of what I know. I write books because of what I want to know. And I started getting some funny phone calls that were kind of the inspiration. This isn't in the book, but this is actually what happened. I do these office hours where anybody who's read one of my books can call me. I do this every Wednesday night. I do 4 15-minute sessions, and so anybody can call me. And it's if somebody's going to spend the hours it takes to read one of my books, and they have something to ask me or tell me, I'm all ears. And so a few years after I published my 2nd book, Indistractable, I started getting this phone call that somebody would call me. Not every call, but maybe like 1 out of 20. Somebody would call me and say, "Hey, Nir, I read your book. I really liked it, but I just want you to know that, it didn't work for me." And I'd say, "Oh, wow, tell me more. What happened?" I spent just as long as I did with Beyond Belief. I spent 5 years writing Indistractable, and there's 30 pages citations to peer-reviewed studies. Well, let's go step by step. I want to hear where it broke down for you. So let's start with step 1, master internal triggers. How did that go? Well, they say, I read that part. I read it. I just didn't do it. So, okay, no problem. Let's skip that step. Maybe you skipped it. Let's go on to step 2. Make time for traction. That's step 2. How did that go for you? Well, Nir, I read that part too. I read it. I definitely read it. It's just that, you know what? I didn't do that one either. And here I was kind of scratching my head. People would wait months sometimes to tell the author of a book that they had read that the things that they didn't do didn't work. So I was really confused by this. I was like, did I write a bad book? Is it my readers? What's going on? Then I realized, you know what? I do this, right? I've got loads of books that I have read and haven't put into practice. I've listened to the YouTube videos and the podcasts and, the hired gurus to tell me answers, and I didn't put them into practice. Why is that? We have so much information these days. We are drowning in information. If you don't know the answer to something, Google it. Ask ChatGPT, right? Buy a book. The answers are out there. There's no more secrets. If anybody knows anything, they're putting it out on social media. So why is it that even when we know exactly what we need to do, and we even want the benefits, we don't do it? And so what I discovered was that our whole model of motivation is way too simplistic. There's a lot more to it.
What I loved about the book was this idea of the motivation triangle, how belief was this missing piece that so many of us have. And it's not necessarily talent a lot of times. It's separating the people who achieve their dreams from the people who don't, but belief. Can you talk about
Right.
that?
Absolutely. So this is that simplistic understanding that I think, when you look at classic economics, I was an econ major in college, and what they teach you is that you change behavior based on incentives. That if I want this benefit, I do this behavior, right? If I want to get paid, I go to my job. So if I know what to do, the behavior, and I want the benefit, the money, I'll do the behavior. Simple as that. But I mean, common sense tells you it's not quite that simple. That how many times do we know exactly what we need to do? We even want the benefits and we don't do it because what's
Mhm.
missing is that motivation is not a straight line. Motivation is a triangle. That you have to have not only the behavior, knowing what to do, you also need the benefit, why you want to do it, but beliefs hold the triangle together. For example, if you don't believe that your boss is going to give you the benefit, right? Maybe your boss doesn't have your best interest at heart. Maybe you don't believe in their leadership. Maybe you don't believe you're going to get that promotion. You don't believe you're going to get that raise. You don't believe you're going to get that year-end bonus. How motivated are you going to be to work for that person if you don't have belief in them? Not very. You're going to slack off or you're going to look for another job. Conversely, even when you know exactly what to do, if you don't believe in your own ability to do whatever that behavior is, whether it's, I don't believe I can get in shape, I don't believe I can give a speech, I don't believe I can write a book, I don't believe I can be a leader, whatever the case might be, if I don't believe I can do it, I'm also going to quit. So the number one determinant of whether someone succeeds or fails, it's not intelligence, it's not resources, it's not even knowing what to do, it's whether they persist. And
Mm.
belief is the foundation of persistence. You need not only the behavior, the benefit, but most importantly, the belief. So when you have all three, that's how you sustain motivation.
Wow. We've seen that play out so many times in our own life. So I don't know if you know this, but we were on the reality TV show, The Amazing Race together. And it took us 7 years to get on that show.
Hmm.
And we got one no after another, year after year. But there was this underlying belief that we had to keep
Well,
showing up.
there was an underlying belief that Nick had.
That we were going to be on the show, and it caused us to keep submitting those videos. So that was
Yeah.
our firsthand experience of that, and it
Yeah.
ended up panning out for us.
After 6 years of rejection, my belief went away. So I am living proof of this motivation triangle because I was the one who said, listen, bro, I'm not submitting another video here. We're not going to do it. I stopped believing that this was meant for us.
Wow.
But Nick
Yeah.
has this superpower of just believing blindly. No matter
Yeah.
what the results are
Well,
saying in front of you, he just believes and believes and believes. And it got us to keep going and persist, like you said. And we eventually made it on the show.
On that note, can we define what belief is and what it isn't?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. This is super, super important because I think we use these words interchangeably. So, what a belief is not a fact. Okay. A fact is an objective truth. It is something that is true whether or not you believe in it. The world is more like a sphere than it is flat. I'm sorry, flat earthers. The world doesn't care what you believe. That's a fact. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum is faith. Faith is a conviction that does not require evidence. God rewards the righteous. There is no amount of evidence that I could present to someone who is of faith and has that conviction to change their mind. Nor should I. It's a matter of faith. But between fact and faith is something very special, and that's what we call a belief. A belief is a conviction that is open to revision based on new evidence. Okay.
Right.
So, unlike faith, which people almost never change, unlike facts, which you cannot change, a belief is malleable. A belief can change based on new evidence. And most of our important decisions in life, should I buy this product? Should I take this job? Should I live in this city? Should I marry this person? Should I apply to the Amazing Race? They're not based on facts because they haven't happened yet, right? The fact that Nick believed that you could get on this show gave you the motivation to persist.
Yep.
If you lost that motivation, you would quit, right? If you didn't have that belief, you wouldn't persist. And so that turns out to be the most important trait. And the important thing here to learn is that because they are predictions about the future, right? You believe that you could get on the show, but it hadn't happened yet,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't yet a fact. It was a belief that we could get on the show sometime in the future, which is why the most important thing that I learned writing this book is that beliefs are tools, not truths. Beliefs are tools, not truths. We try and make things into facts because it gives us a sense of certainty, right? We like that sense of, oh, we know what's going to happen next. So we think they're facts, but they're not facts. They're just beliefs. And so we don't have to have something be true in order to believe in it. Just as you
Mm.
believed, hey, we could make it if we apply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 6 times or 7 times.
7 straight years, so it was
7 times you
multiple
guys
times.
applied, right? You kept believing that it might happen, and that's amazing, right? Because when you believed it was possible, you had the motivation to keep trying, proving this point that beliefs are tools, not truths. And we can do this in all areas of our life. So wherever we have some kind of limitation in our life, wherever we um, are self-limiting ourselves. We call this a limiting belief. That's where we can, the whole goal of this practice that I describe in the book is about how do we see those limiting beliefs for what they truly are, and then adopt what we call a liberating belief so that we can persist for longer.
How does one identify limiting beliefs in their own
Yeah.
life?
Yeah, this is the tricky part because limiting beliefs are always hidden to us. It's like
Hmm.
our face, right? We all have a face. And yet if I told you look at your face, you can't look at your face. You can look at your hand, you can look at your feet. You can't look at your own face unless we're doing a Zoom call or something, or unless you have a mirror. You need something outside of yourself in order to see your own face, right? Interestingly, we can see other people's faces, right? You can see your kids' limiting beliefs, you can see your boss's limiting beliefs, you can see everybody else's limiting beliefs, but you can't see your own because to you, they feel like facts. So, in order to see our own limiting beliefs, we need some kind of tool. We need something outside of ourselves. Just like we need a mirror to reflect upon ourselves to see our face, we need a process, we need a tool to see our own limiting beliefs. And so, there's this process that I talk about in the book called inquiry based stress reduction, which I'm happy to run through, which allows us to take out these limiting beliefs, examine them, see if they're actually serving us or hurting us, and then allow us to do what's called a turnaround to adopt a potentially liberating belief.
Could we like do this live with one of ours?
Sure. Heck yeah.
So,
Yeah, let's do it.
so I know one of mine. It's one that I've struggled with for my whole life, and it's that I am not enough. That is
Mm,
one that I have struggled with as this type A perfectionist personality, and I know that I'm not the only one uh, who
yeah.
has that. I'm sure there are a lot of people listening that also have this feeling, this belief creep, and ruin their lives in some way, shape, or form. So, what would we do with this underlying belief of I'm not enough? Or another way to put it is I need to achieve more in order to feel enough, or I will not be
Mm,
enough until I achieve at the highest level. Those are all
yeah.
kind of different ways of saying the same underlying belief that I am not enough right now as I am.
Beautiful. So the definition of a limiting belief is a belief that causes you suffering and decreases motivation. A
Okay.
liberating belief is a belief that decreases your suffering and increases your motivation. So, what we want to do is to try and first get concrete about this, right? So, some
Okay.
people they know exactly what their limiting belief is. A lot of people struggle with it when because they're hidden to us most of the time. So, even before you say you have one readily available, which is great, but if you don't have one and you're listening, think to yourself, where are you stuck? Okay,
Hmm.
and you can do this for yourself right now. What is something that you want to do that you haven't been able to do because of this limitation, because of this belief that you have that's keeping you from that. So whatever that excuse might be, I want to go for that promotion, but I'm not ready. I want to do public speaking, but I get nervous. I want to write a book, but I have ADHD. Whatever it might be. I want to ask that girl out, but she'll never go for me. Whatever the case might be. I want to work out, but there's no time. I want you to make that pair. Okay, what's the thing you want? Maybe it's that New Year's resolution that keeps coming up year after year after year. What's the thing you know you want? And what's the reason you haven't gotten it yet? Can you do that for me? Does that come to mind?
When it comes to this one, or you want me to think of like just right now, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Yeah, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Something that you want, and what's the reason why you haven't been able to do it? Wherever there's like wherever you feel like you're a little stuck or it's causing you suffering, or maybe it's a relationship that needs repair, maybe it's a goal you've deferred, whatever comes to mind first. I know it
So,
can be
uh,
touchy, but
so,
whatever you're willing to
so
share.
we're working on a keynote of our own right now, and
Mm,
we really want to get to a place where we feel confident in it, but we have really struggled to do that. We're struggling with it.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I would say that's the most immediate thing, but I can't put my finger on exactly what the but is. Like, we wanna deliver a really good keynote, but we're struggling is, like, that's still not that clear.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, we can work with that. We can
okay.
say that struggling on a keynote is bad.
Mm,
That could
okay,
be a
yeah,
belief, right? Think about that for a minute.
yeah.
Because what
Yeah,
we're
no, that's
doing, you see,
true, that's
You're right.
true.
Yeah, yeah.
right? What the brain is constantly doing, what we love to do is judge. Judge, 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 judge. We love to judge, right? Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. That's what our brain is constantly doing. And so if you find that struggling on this speech is causing you to lose motivation, does it cause you like when you're like, oh, Nick, hey, we got to work on that speech? Is it like, hell yeah, I can't wait? Or is it, ugh, this is going to be really hard,
It's the second one.
right?
Yeah, I
I could
guess the
tell.
belief is that working on the keynote is a struggle. That's a
Yeah.
good belief.
Sucks.
Yeah,
Working on the
yeah,
keynote sucks.
yeah,
Does that
Yep.
resonate?
100%.
definitely.
Yep.
100%. Okay. So
100%.
it reduces your motivation to work on the speech. And what about suffering? I can probably tell here just by your body language and your tone. It it's causing you suffering, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's work with this. So if you're listening at home, this is perfect. We've got a limiting belief here. Working on this speech sucks. Write this out for yourself. Okay, what's that thing you want to do that for whatever reason you're not doing? And now we have a reason here why working on this speech for in this case it sucks, and that reduces motivation, increases suffering. All right, so now we're going to do what's called inquiry-based stress reduction. This is a technique that was pioneered by a woman by the name of Byron Katie, but it's actually been scientifically validated now several times. Interestingly enough, even this technique has been used for over 2,500 years. Aristotle used to do something very similar,
Wow.
but Byron Katie really turned it into a process that anybody can use and remember. So here's what you do: you ask yourself 4 questions. The first question is, so you write down the belief. If you can, you guys have a piece of paper near you?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So working on this speech sucks. Okay. First question: is it true?
Is it
Uh,
true?
s-
Does it
sometimes.
suck? Yeah.
It
Like,
feels like it's true.
Okay. Great. Feels like it's true. Good enough.
Okay.
Second question: is it absolutely true? So it sounds like the first question. It's a little bit different. Okay. First
no.
question was, is it true? Yep, it's true. Now we're going to add a different requirement. Is it absolutely true that working on
So
the speech sucks?
no,
No.
Why not?
it's not absolutely true because it's like it only sucks. Like, I have the awareness that it only sucks because of the way that I'm looking at it. Like, I kind of have that awareness
And
already.
also, there's this awareness of like when it clicks, it's not going to suck. And it's just a
Ah,
matter of time before it
And there's
clicks.
also moments where it doesn't suck, even when even when we go into it thinking that it sucks, there are moments where things are clicking and it doesn't feel like it sucks.
amazing. Okay, so in only 2 questions, we've established that this thing that felt like a fact, you just said a second ago, it feels like it's
Yeah.
true. And I asked you question number 1, we've just established that something that we thought was a fact is not a fact. Okay, it's a
Mm.
belief. It's not one of Newton's laws, right? It's not a law of nature. It's just up here. It's
Hmm.
completely perception. It's subjective. It's not a fact. Okay, great. So
Mm.
now we've cracked open the door that we can potentially see a different perspective. Okay, let's go to the third question. Third question is, who am I when I hold on to this belief? Okay, I want you to really embody this belief. Working on you can even close your eyes for a second, and I want you to think in your head, working on this speech effing sucks. Okay, really embody that belief. Like hold on to it tight, tight, tight. That working on the talk sucks. How do you feel right now? Like what's going on in your body?
Like, my stress levels are higher, and
Mm.
the complete opposite of creativity is being unlocked.
Is being
Yeah, if
unlocked?
Like, basically, I'm the complete. If creativity is unlocked on one end of the spectrum, it's the complete opposite. It's locked in a box and it's not coming out.
That's how you feel when you believe that working on the
When I
speech
believe
sucks.
that working on the speech sucks, yeah.
I
Amazing. I
feel
just got
frustrated.
goosebumps.
I
Frustrated.
feel
Okay.
frustrated, yeah.
So, okay, this is incredible. This is incredible because what you just showed us is that by you guys being sensible, right? By thinking, yeah, working on the speech is hard. That's the way it is. Okay. You decreased your motivation to do the very thing you want to do. This happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not good at public speaking. It sucks. I wasn't cut out for this. I'm not a natural leader. It's too late. There's no time. These limiting beliefs, they sound
Yeah.
sensible. They sound like we're
Another
just
one is
being
we've never
rational.
done this before.
We've never
So
done
that's
this
another.
before.
Yeah.
Reason after reason after reason for your
Mhm.
brain to say, well, you're just being smart. You're just being sensible, right? You're
Mhm.
not good at this, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
really, what did it do? It made you less likely. You said it felt
Mm.
like you're putting creativity behind a lockbox.
Mhm.
Who freaking wants to work on something when their creativity is bound in knots and chains?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now we want to do the fourth question. Now I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that I have this magic wand and I'm going to zap this magic spell that is going to dissolve this belief completely. It's as if it never existed. It is just washing away. That belief that working on this talk sucks is gone. It doesn't exist. It never existed. And I want you to sit with that for a minute. How does that feel to have that belief completely washed away? What is your body experiencing now?
Liberation. That's the first word that comes to mind.
Okay.
Liberation, openness,
Yeah.
freedom, creativity, happiness, excitement, all of that.
Wow. You're just going on and on. I love it. What about you,
Yeah,
Nick?
that's what
I
I
I would
feel.
say the one word that comes to mind for me is just peace.
Peace.
More of just a calm, and then with that calm comes an excitement to,
Nice.
like, start attacking this again from a new angle.
I love it. I love it. So, so see what happened here, right? We determined in what 2 minutes that the thing that felt like a fact. And by the way, you can apply this if you're listening to us right now. You can apply this for any of your barriers, whatever it is that the excuse that you presented to yourself. Right? We talked about many of them earlier. You can do this with any of those excuses. So we determined number one that what felt like a fact wasn't a fact; it was just a belief.
Yep.
That two, that holding on to that belief was making it less likely that we would do the thing we actually want to do. And that finally, when we released that belief, we became much happier, right? We became more
Mm,
creative. We became more motivated. We became unlocked in a way from what you just said. Okay. Just
Yeah.
by playing with what was in our minds. Okay.
yep.
So now we're ready to do the turnaround. The turnaround asks us to do something that your brain is going to hate. So get ready for it. Your brain hates changing its mind.
Mm,
Your brain hates changing its mind because the reason we have limiting beliefs, right? Why do we even have limiting beliefs? Why would the brain want us to suffer? Because your brain's primary job is not to help you flourish. It's not to make you happy. It's not to help you live your full potential. It's not to make you rich. It's not to make you happy. Your brain doesn't care about any of that stuff. Your brain's primary job, what it cares about more than anything, is to keep you alive. That's it. It just wants to keep you alive and hopefully procreate. That's what evolution designed your brain to do. That's it. Okay. So, whatever you did in the past, whatever you thought, whatever you believed in the past, is what your brain is constantly going to tell you to keep doing. Why? Because you're alive. And if
mm,
you're alive now, that means that something kept you alive in the past. So, the safest thing your brain can get you to do is whatever you already did. Just keep
huh,
believing what you've always believed again and again and again. So, knowing this, knowing that your brain is doing this to help you, it's pulling you back constantly into those limiting beliefs, acknowledging that, saying, okay, I get it. I understand I'm going to get some resistance here and I'm going to do it anyway. And the way we do it is we don't say, okay, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to believe something different, right? That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we're going to try and collect evidence of could the exact opposite be true. So this is very different from like an affirmation. You see people going into the mirror and saying, I'm pretty, everybody loves me, I'm talented, I can dunk a basketball, right? All this stuff that's nonsense because it's not, there's no evidence for that. That's not what we're doing. We're not making stuff up out of thin air. We're collecting evidence so that we can have a portfolio of perspective, just like you have a stock portfolio or you have basketball cards or Pokemon cards. We're just collecting options that are also true. Okay.
mm,
And we're going to do that by turning around the belief. The belief originally was that working on this talk sucks. Now we're going to ask ourselves, could the exact opposite be true? So, what's the opposite of working on this talk sucks? could also be true. Working on this talk does not suck.
Uh-huh.
Can you give me any evidence? Is there any way that that could also be true, that working on this talk does not suck?
Well, we kind of touched on that before, where there are moments where we get really excited when
Hmm.
things feel like, when the creativity is flowing between us and we're bouncing off of each other's ideas, and it feels like things are starting to come together. It feels like it does not suck.
Okay, cool. When does that feel best? What makes those moments unique?
I think progress is really the thing that makes it feel like it doesn't suck, and I think a lack of progress is what happens, like, to make it feel like it sucks. Like, I think
Okay,
that's, like, the key element if I had to nail it down.
amazing. So I want you to write that down. That working on the talk doesn't suck when we're making progress.
Okay.
And I want to get back to that. So remind me later on how we can what we can do about that. What else? Where else do you define when it doesn't suck? Okay, there are instances where, for example, when you're making progress, things are
I
coming
have
along
another
amazing.
one.
Yeah.
It doesn't suck when we're focused on the audience and the value we wanna provide for them,
Mm,
and it sucks a lot more when we're focused on not wanting to fuck this opportunity up.
nice. Nice.
Yeah, that I
I
think
love
is
it.
another distinction.
Yeah. So tell me more about what does that what does that mean when you say when you're adding value to the audience? What how does that when has that
Well,
manifested? When has that
basically, it
happened?
doesn't suck when we have this mentality of service, when we
Mm,
are showing up with the intention of we're trying to do our best to provide value to others rather than provide value to ourselves.
nice. Okay. So serving write this one down. Serving others does not suck. So that's a belief. Maybe instead of I'm working on a talk, maybe it's I'm serving others because
Yeah.
you believe it's also true that serving others doesn't suck. So
Mhm.
even that simple mind shift of, hey, we're not working on a talk here, we're serving others.
Yeah. I think
That,
another one I just came up with is when it doesn't suck when we creatively come up with a way to deliver a concept in a simple, memorable way that people can go away and apply to their life. When we actually tap into our creativity and can simplify something in a way that makes people moved by something that might be complicated, but we take it and we make it so simple, that is when it really doesn't suck.
yeah. Okay, so write this down too. I want to have all these facts that you can look at, these things that are also true that make working on the talk not suck. So working on the talk doesn't suck when your creativity comes out, when you are able to simplify complex things, when you give people actionable insights. All that stuff makes it not suck.
I have
Here's
one
another
more.
one.
Take out
Another
when we have
opposite.
fun and take out the pressure is another one.
When you take off the pressure. Oh, say tell me more
Yeah.
about that one. How have you
Like,
taken off the pressure before?
so this is something that we learned on The Amazing Race when we were on it. It's like
Hmm.
on The Amazing Race, there's this ticking clock, and you're always having your back against the wall. And when you're looking at teams pass you by, and like there's this deadline, like if you finish last, you're screwed. Our brains would start to basically scramble and not operate effectively. And we'd go from having fun to playing not to lose.
Yeah.
And that would cause just stress, but also lower performance. And the same thing is happening where we have this deadline that feels like it's getting closer and closer and closer. So working on the keynote sucks, or working on the keynote doesn't suck when we're not thinking about the deadline is another one.
Okay. Okay. So maybe I'll change this as opposed to working on the talk sucks. Not working on the talk sucks. Could
Say that.
that what you just told me is that that's true because if you don't work on the talk, what's going to
Mm,
happen? You're going to get
mhm.
on
Oh
stage
yeah,
and
100%,
Yeah, that's 100.
100%.
You've
right?
actually said those words.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like I want to be working on this, but I don't have the time to do it.
yep.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
the complete opposite, which is really funny.
Right? It's the complete opposite. That it's not working on a talk that's by the way, this is the root of procrastination, right? That all procrastination is a desire to escape discomfort in some way. And so what happens is, you wait because working on the talk sucks. You wait to the last minute and then, oh my God, the talk's tomorrow. And now I'm going to stay up all night and try and fix a talk. And then what do people do? They give a really shitty talk. So
Yeah.
if you want to give a great talk, then the new belief is not that working on the talk sucks. Not working on the talk sucks. That's going to be way more painful.
Wow.
Mm.
That's really
Right?
interesting. I feel like we have both of those things happening simultaneously in our minds, which
Yeah.
is creating this inner conflict.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So the beauty of it is that you were locking on to one belief. That one belief is working on the talk sucks. Sucks, it sucks,
Mm.
it sucks. Right?
Mhm.
So the only way to resolve that is for the talk to go away. This thing outside of you has to happen. It just has to get done.
Mm.
As opposed to now you have this portfolio of perspectives. You have lots of different beliefs you can choose from. That when we work on the talk together, it's fun. When we are serving others, it's fun. It doesn't suck. When we're being creative and being practical, it's fun. When we're making progress, it doesn't suck. All of these other beliefs. Or if we don't do this, that also sucks. So now you've
Mm.
got this portfolio of perspectives. So now you can choose from one of those and see what serves you better. Because we already determined that repeating to yourself every time, oh, we have to do this talk, but working on the talk sucks. We did that exercise earlier where you said it kills your creativity. It decreases your motivation. It increases your suffering. So I want you to look through all those beliefs that you just wrote down and ask yourself which one is the most energizing, which one increases your motivation. And now that becomes your liberating belief. You now choose, just try it for a week, for example. Never say again for the next week, not even once. Don't let yourself say it even one time, working on the talk sucks. Instead, you're going to say one of those other beliefs, whichever one to you is most motivating. It may not be not working on the talk sucks. That might not work for you, but maybe one of the other ones. For example, serving our audience doesn't suck, right? That's wonderful, perhaps. And what you're going to do, like maybe even write it down on a Post-it note and put that somewhere, so that you constantly see. For example, when I write, I've written 3 books. We got on the New York Times bestseller list for the last one. And writing, I used to tell myself, sucks. Right? Writing is really freaking hard. Really hard. And it never got easier. It never, and I'll tell you what, it's never going to get easier.
Mm.
And so what I learned was when I kept telling myself writing sucks, I would look for escape. I would procrastinate. I'd check stock prices. I'd look at sports scores. I'd read the news. I'd check email because writing sucks. I believed it. And I kept telling myself, writing sucks, writing sucks, writing sucks. And the more I told myself that, the less writing I did. So I changed my belief.
Mm.
Now I changed my belief to this is what it feels like to get better.
Mm. Huh.
This is what it feels like to get better. Now, to me, that's super motivating because now the same exact feeling, that pit in my stomach, that my deadline is coming, and what if I don't do it well, and what if this book sucks, and what if nobody likes it, and what if it doesn't sell well, all those insecurities. Now, I don't translate that into that
Mm.
sucks, so I got to escape. I translate it into, this
This
is
is
what it
here
feels like
for
to
a
get better.
reason. Mm.
Yeah, I'm getting
Wow.
better. Good. Awesome that I feel this way.
Wow.
Because you know what? That means other people feel it too, but they don't have this secret unlock that I have of this liberating belief. This is what it feels like to get better.
Wow.
So to me, that's super motivating. That doesn't have to be your
Yeah.
belief. To me, that's what worked. That
I
became my
actually
new
think I
belief.
am going to steal yours if that's okay,
Take it.
because
It's
I
yours.
really love that. This is what it feels like to get better. When those feelings come up, it's just so empowering.
Awesome. It's
Yeah.
yours. Take it. I'm glad you find value from it. So what you want to do, by the way, and there's you can also start creatively coming up with all kinds of other solutions. For example, if you say to yourself, so one liberating belief, of course, this is what it feels like to get better. If that's enough for you, awesome. Put it on a Post-it note, put it on your home screen, screensaver or whatever, so that you constantly see it. But you could also dive deeper into some of those liberating beliefs. For example, if you said to yourself, when we make progress, that I think that was the first thing that you said when we did that
Yeah.
turnaround. You said, when we make progress, it feels awesome. Well, do you guys work with anybody on this talk, or are you just doing it yourselves?
Mostly ourselves.
Okay. One potential idea, I could hook you guys up with an amazing speech coach who in 2 or 3 hours, you guys could make tremendous amounts of progress, right? Just like this is why we have coaches, whether it's athletic coaches, whether it's executive coaches, whether it's speech coaches. You want to make progress quickly? Hire somebody. hire an expert,
Mm.
right? You
Yep.
guys know this, right?
Yeah, of course.
So if that's what it makes it not suck, and you have the resources, and this is important to you, values wise and financially, right? What does this
Yep.
unlock for you? Now we've discovered the real root of the problem. Well, maybe there's something that you can do, but you wouldn't even see that possibility. Your brain
Yep.
won't let you even imagine. Wait a minute. Wait, we can hire a speech coach. There are professionals who do this, right? Because if you keep repeating, working on the speech sucks, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks, all you're going to do is try and escape that because you lose the
Mm,
motivation. It increases suffering. I'm out of here.
mm.
As opposed to when you unlock this portfolio perspective, now you have a world of other options.
So our reality is really based on what we're believing every single day, is the
That's right.
moral of the story.
The moral of the story is that your beliefs have three powers: the power to change what you see, like literally to change what you see. You guys saw that checkerboard illusion in the book?
Yep,
That
that
Yes.
was awesome.
always blows my mind that even when you know the truth, you cannot see it accurately. Your brain won't let you. None of us sees reality. We see this simulation of reality that is filtered based on our beliefs. So our
Mhm,
beliefs change what we see. Our beliefs change what we feel, not just our feelings, right? The speech is working on the speech sucks. That feels crummy, but also our physical feelings. Our the way we experience pain and suffering is completely moderated, or at least I should say in part greatly moderated by our beliefs. And finally, what we're able to do. So if you say, well, I've never done this before and I don't believe I can do this well, guess what? You're not.
mhm.
Because your sense of agency has been reduced because you don't believe you can. So our beliefs shape what we see, what we feel, and ultimately what we do.
Wow. Well, this reminded me a little bit of the story you told about Serena Williams, because a
Mm,
part of I could think of people listening to this right now saying, but like, what if you're like, you're talking about evidence, but I don't have the evidence, and like, aren't I lying to myself essentially? But you tell this amazing story about Serena
yeah.
Williams that has really stuck with me. Can you share that?
Sure, sure. So Serena Williams one year was playing in Wimbledon and she was not doing well. And she wasn't doing well because she feared rushing the net. She was
Mm,
hesitating. And in tennis, at that level, if every millisecond counts and you're going to lose matches if you don't rush the net. But these limiting beliefs, they're always based on some kind of fear. And that fear was manifesting in this way for Serena. Now, her coach, Patrick Monteglou, saw what was happening. And he called Serena aside. He told her to come over. And he said, Serena, look, I just ran the numbers. And did you know that you score a point 80% of the time that you rush the net? And she says, what? I thought I was terrible at rushing the net. What are you talking about? He says, look, I ran the numbers. Statistics don't lie. This is the best news of the day. And it's true. Statistics don't lie. But he did. He
mhm,
completely made it up. She wasn't scoring anywhere near 80% of the points at the net. But the amazing thing is that when he told her this, he unlocked what was already within her, and she
mm.
began scoring 80% of the points at the net, and she went on to win Wimbledon this year, or that year. Now, you ask yourself, well, what is this guy saying? Is he saying we should lie to ourselves? Should we gaslight ourselves? Should we be delusional? Guess what? You're already lying to yourself. You're already delusional. You think you see reality clearly? You don't. You see a simulation of reality filtered based on your beliefs.
uh,
And so if you are already lying, pick the right lie. Did you notice that in the word belief, in the middle of the word, what's in the middle of the word? Lie. There's a lie in the middle of
mm.
every belief. It's right in the
Wow.
word.
That's crazy.
We're just picking the wrong lie. We're picking the
Oh,
lie that tells us we can't when we can pick the lie that we can. Now, we don't want it pulled out of thin air. Coach Monteglou knew what Serena could do. He had seen what she was capable of doing.
he
So he
had
knew that she could
evidence
do it.
in that respect.
Exactly. It was a conviction open to revision based on new evidence. He had the evidence, she didn't. And the
Mm,
job of a great coach is to unlock what's already in the athlete. And that's exactly what he did.
That
wow.
kind of reminds me of have you ever read Steve Jobs' biography?
Mm. Yeah, by Walter Isaacson?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know, like,
Yeah,
when he talks about the reality distortion field that Steve Jobs would always use on people, where he would
that's
basically
right.
just, like, with his employees or whenever there was a project that needed to be working on, he's like, "I need this thing to be the size of a dime," and they're like, "That's impossible." They would
Yeah,
just come to him like, "No, seriously, it just can't be done." He's just like, "You're gonna do it. You're going
yeah.
to figure it out. This is the deadline." And then because he instilled that belief that it can be done,
Yeah.
their minds were open to see, feel, and do things that made it possible to get done.
Yeah, it
That's
also
right. That's
reminds me
exactly
of
right.
that, the 4-minute mile story, right? You know that story where basically
Yeah,
nobody
yeah,
was able
Federer.
to run a
Yeah.
4-minute mile, and then one dude does it, and then all of a sudden everyone starts doing it just because the belief of it being possible changed?
Yeah, yeah, Roger Bannister, and we just saw it
Yep.
a few weeks ago in London with, I
Yeah,
can't remember the
yeah.
guy's name who did the 2, hour marathon,
Under
same
2
story.
hours, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and now lots of people are doing it, that when you see something as possible, your body performs differently. We see this with aging. This is the part also blew my mind. We know that people who have positive views of aging live 7.5 years longer.
Mm.
7.5 years longer, that is
Wow.
more, to put that in perspective, that's more in the effect of exercise, it's more in the effect of diet, it's more in the effect of quitting smoking. So as
Wow.
much as
Wow.
we hear about, oh, you have to eat right, you have to exercise, don't smoke, turns out having positive views of aging is the best thing you can do for your longevity, right? You can
Wow.
stop listening to stupid mumbo jumbo, Brian Johnson type bull crap. If you believe differently, you will live longer. Now, why is that? It's not because your beliefs affect your mitochondria and vibrate at the cosmic radiation of the universe or any of that mumbo jumbo. It's not that. It's that beliefs really do become your biology, but via behavior.
Mm,
Because it turns out that people who have a positive view of aging behave differently. So,
mm,
what's a positive view of aging? Someone who says something like, at least in this study at Yale, growth is possible at any age. Okay, growth is possible at any age. That's a positive view of aging. A negative view of aging would be aging involves inevitable decline.
mm.
Huh.
Okay, when we hear it all the time, right? I'm having a senior moment, or I'm getting too old for this. We hear people saying this all the time. So, just that default belief, what do you say to yourself when you think about aging? Do you say to yourself, aging involves inevitable decline? Or do you say to yourself, hey, growth is possible at any age? And which is true?
Mm.
They're both true, right? But based on what your default belief is, you will behave differently because who's more likely to go volunteer in their community? Who's more likely to, exercise in the garden and do some gardening? Who's more likely to do behaviors that will make
Yeah.
them live longer? Someone who
This sounds
believes
a
that growth is
lot
possible or not?
Yeah, this sounds a lot like, the concept of, like, an identity, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and what's so important about identity is that we can foreclose on our identity. So this is a phenomenon where when we believe we are a certain type of person, it's over. And this is why we have to be so careful about our labels. There's a chapter in the book called "Your Labels Are Your Limits." That
Mm.
that the most dangerous words in the English language are whatever comes after "I am."
Yep.
Right? I am not a morning person. I am not a math person. I am no good with this or that or the other. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm a ENTJ. I'm a whatever label you assign yourself. If you
Mhm.
foreclose on that identity, that becomes who you are. And then you become incapable of changing because I
Mm.
can't change what I am, right? I am what I am. There's never been a more dangerous phrase ever spoken.
Mm.
But I feel like when you do find those I ams and you like nail them down in terms of the limiting ones, that process we went through before could also be so helpful for those I ams, right? As opposed to just like, I love what you said earlier about a lot of times, and I've tried this, you know how I said, like, I have this I am not enough is this
Right.
like thing that I repeat. And for the longest time, I would just do the woo woo, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough without giving myself any of like the evidence that actually changes anything. But
Yeah.
I am going to use this process because I love how like practical and just evidence based it becomes. I just love that idea. I
Yeah.
think it's just so helpful.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah. So that's a great point around why sometimes the self-help industry takes stuff that's true and makes it false. And we see this quite a bit right now with this, manifesting stuff that people are going crazy about manifesting and
Yeah,
vision
yeah.
boarding and visioning. And I kind of take it to task because the evidence is not good, right? I want it to be true, but in fact, the evidence shows that not only is it not true, it's actually actively harmful. There was a research study done by Gabrielle Oettingen. She connected people to blood pressure monitors, and she asked them to do this exercise where they had to do this visioning of some kind of eventual outcome, right? I'm going to get a good grade on my exam. I'm going to attract money in my life. I'm going to find love. I'm going to whatever it is, these outcomes that people were focused on. And what she found is that they became more relaxed. She could see it with their blood pressure. They became more and more relaxed when they did these envisioning exercises, right? This manifesting. Interestingly, because they became more relaxed, the theory is, they became less likely to actually do the things that had to get done to get those outcomes. So the students who did this visioning manifesting exercise on getting an A on an exam studied less and did worse on the exam.
Wow.
So
That is
the
so
right
funny.
way to do this, there is a right way, is the way athletes do it. If you talk to an athlete who does envisioning exercise, they don't sit there and manifest the gold trophy and, the medals. That's not what they manifest. They don't manifest the outcomes. What they're thinking about, what they're visioning is, what am I going to do when something gets in my way? This is called mental contrasting. So the idea here is that you prepare for the pain. You prepare for the pain. So, for example, when I started my public speaking career, and I had the same exact procrastination of, this sucks. I don't want to do this. It's so hard. I'm never going to be good at it. How do I really touch people if I mess up on stage? I would intentionally practice the parts I was most afraid of. So I'll still do this. When I learn a new talk, I'll take out my slide deck and I'll just flip to some random slide. And I'll force myself to practice as if I had just forgotten my lines and I have to start from this random slide. Okay?
Wow. That's
Right?
really
This is
smart.
exactly, and where did I learn this? This is what Michael Phelps did. Michael Phelps in the Olympics, his goggles fell off and he still broke the world record. He still won the gold medal. Now
Holy shit.
that would throw a lot of people off, but he had practiced it so many times. Okay, my goggles fall off. What am I going to do? And how many, he practiced it so many times that he was prepared physically and, more importantly, psychologically, because he
Wow.
stopped judging that bad thing happening as bad. Just, it happens. All right, it happens. And good. I'm glad it happened because I'm totally prepared for it. So preparing for the pain, that's what you have to envision. You have to envision when that thing goes wrong, not if, but when the pain comes. How can I separate the pain from the suffering?
That is gold right there. I feel like I could have used that when we were manifesting winning the Amazing Race, because we were not prepared for the challenges that we actually faced once we did get on the show. But I feel like mental contrasting would have definitely helped in that sense.
Yeah. Well,
When we
you
get
can use
back
it now
on
for
the
this
show.
speech you're preparing. I can't wait to hear
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, no, we'll get back on the show for an all-star season eventually, and now we'll use that skill to be more prepared for the hurdles that come on our way.
I love
Nir, you have given us so much value, and I think the main takeaway that I take away is actually a direct quote from your book. You say, choosing a belief is a strategic decision, not self-deception. That to me is the main takeaway. And beliefs are tools, right? They are tools that we can use to make our lives better, to motivate ourselves, and to be happier, right? So we want to end with one final question, which is this. When you are gone, what is one belief you hope to have planted in the world?
Oh, can I give you more than one? Or does it have to be just one?
Sure, yeah, go
I'll
for
give
it.
you, okay. Number one, I want everyone to know that you don't see reality clearly. We need the intellectual humility to understand that we don't see reality as it is. We are seeing a simulation filtered through our beliefs. Okay, so you don't see reality clearly. Number two, that you are capable of far more than you can imagine. And number three, that your beliefs become your reality. Not everyone's reality, but your beliefs will become your perception of reality. And so if you change your beliefs, you change your life.
Wow.
Love it.
That is a mic drop moment. Thank you for everything, man. Thank you for changing our life. Thank you for putting your art out into the world. It's a masterpiece, and we hope
thank you for the
everyone-
therapy session.
Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, I
That
can't wait
was
to hear
awesome.
your talk. Your talk is going to be incredible. I'm so excited to hear it. Let me know if I can help.
Appreciate it,
bros.
man. Well, thanks for being here. Sending you
My
love, man.
pleasure.
Peace.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.